Hello again, I'm Robert Fitton. Here we are in February of 1983 as we close out the month with a few actually really great records here that I'll be talking about. I'll be rating these 1 to 5. Keep in mind that I'm rating everything on a curve. I'm acting like there are no other albums that exist except for the ones in 1983. So 1 to 5 stars. Let's get to it. Now, I did do quite a bit of research trying to find out the exact release dates of all of these albums I'm doing for 1983. There is some confusion about this next one, though. Did it come out in April or did it come out in February? I'm going with the February one just so we can get it out of the way and get it over with. I am talking about the Michael Bolton album. And no, this is not his debut, as some people say it is online. This is actually his third or fourth solo album. But this is the first one where he uses his last name spelled Bolton instead of Bulletin or whatever his real name is. So maybe that's why some people think this is his debut. But anyway, obviously this is I don't say obviously if you don't know. This is more of a rock album than what he does later when he becomes popular and starts having the hits. I'll just say right up front, I am not a Michael Bolton fan. I don't know why I have this. This is the only thing from Michael Bolton that I own, and have not played this in decades. I think I got this, again, like I usually say when I throw out records like this, I got this in a box of records in the 90s, years and years ago, and it's been in the shed, and played this, and yeah, I was not missing much. This, like I said, is more of a rock-oriented album, but it's still pop. It's just really kind of hard pop, I guess you would say. It's not exactly power pop. It's more of that kind of Bon Jovi kind of rock. I've never been a fan of his vocals, that kind of high, throaty, pleading kind of vocal. Oh, baby! Oh, you know, that kind of thing. I sound just like him, right? But yeah, it's all over this. And then you've got the synths going on. You've got the guitar actually by Bruce Kulick and his brother Bob Kulick. They're the guitar players in this. Some Aldo Nova thrown in as well. So some key players on this. But the songs aren't strong. They're just these typical rock kind of like Bon Jovi-esque, like Desmond Child type lyrics. Just a lot of cliches thrown around. The kind of thing you just kind of toss off at lunch, and I got to write a song. I'm going to write a song called "Fool's Gold." That was the single. I won't call it a big hit. I don't think it was, but "Hometown Hero," "Paradise," "Back in My Arms Again." These songs are just cliches. "Back in My Arms Again," though, is actually a cover of the Supreme song, "Until You're Back in My Arms Again," but not when Michael Bolton does it. "When you're back in my arms again," that kind of thing. So just over-the-top vocals. That's his style. And again, I will say I'm not a Michael Bolton fan. I want to make that clear. This is the only Michael Bolton I own. I want to make that clear. However, if somebody were like, I will give you $1,000 if you listen to a Michael Bolton album, your choice. I would actually rather hear his later stuff. I think he sounds more in his element when he's doing that light rock pop stuff from the 90s. I think that's where that voice belongs. I don't think it belongs in front of music like this. You can tell, and I think I remember, I'm not, sitting around watching Michael Bolton interviews, but I think I remember him saying years and years ago when he came out with that Soul Provider album, which was sort of like, again, a debut album of sorts, because that's when he started this completely different sound. When he came out with that, I think I remember him saying, finally I'm comfortable with the music I'm doing. This is more like the music I want to do. Who becomes a wannabe rock star if they don't? I mean, you would just do that music to begin with. I don't know what this is for. I don't know why this is an album. But it's not a great one. The best song on here, and again, I don't like the song, but if you're just judging by these songs, I think that he sounds most comfortable in the song at the very end, "I Almost Believed You," because that's the power ballad. And that's where his voice belongs. That's where he is the strongest, is these ballads, these, where that voice can you know, just bust out of there and fill the whole, you know, instead of having this rock thing going on behind him. So I think that's the song on here that stands out as like, okay, well, that sounds like a Michael Bolton song. But yeah, not a fan. Again, some okay music, some okay, you know, guitar playing, I guess. It's short. It's a short album. It's only like a little over a half hour long. The side 2 only has 4 songs, and it's really short. It's almost like there's a track missing. It's like, why didn't they just put 10 songs on it and make it a normal length album? I don't know. I think they just kind of gave up. And I'm going to give up reviewing this at this point and just give that thing, I don't know, does it deserve 2 stars or is it 1 star? I'm going to say 1 star for that. February 28th, 1983, great day for album releases. There were a few great ones that came out on this day. And one that we really needed was Quiet Riot and Mental Health. And I say we really need this because if you've been watching the videos, they're chronological, going through the whole year. And there hasn't been a lot of really hard rock landmark albums coming out. And so this was a nice adrenaline shot that was definitely needed. Quiet Riot and Mental Health. Of course, featuring Come On Feel the Noise. These guys were in the right place at the right time with the right sound. Hard rock, fun stuff, but very, very commercial and accessible with a great video that went along with it. Of course, Come On Feel the Noise is a cover of a Slade song. They would have success with another Slade song, Mama We're All Crazy Now. That's on another album. But Mental Health, it was all about Come On Feel the Noise. Then that video and that song and everything, they just propelled this to sell quite a few copies. And I got this when it was first out. And this is, you know, the cover art, everything about this just totally works. It's a very fun album. It's a loud album, but at the same time, the kids loved it as well. Again, I'm 10 years old, and I thought Come On Feel the Noise was great. Mental Health was the follow-up, Bang Your Head, and I thought that was okay, a little slower, you know, a little more of the stadium kind of bang your head. You know, everybody's supposed to raise their hand up and whatever at the concerts. It was all right. It actually starts this album, and they go into Come On Feel the Noise. Side 1 of this really starts off strong. Slickback Black Cadillac is track 4. That's kind of a throwback to more of like a 70s fun car song with kind of a sing-songish, you know, chorus. It's Slick Black Cadillac, na 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 na. You know, but it totally works because they're still hard rock and they blend that together nicely. Fantastic job of that. Then you get Love's a Bitch. Sort of a slower song. Don't know if that's necessarily needed on here. Opening line, Love's got me by the ass again. Well, that's a strange way to start a song. I don't know what that means. It means he's got a girlfriend that wants to use the strap-on Sally. I'm not really sure what that's all about. But, you know, have her use a lot of lube and, you know, just you give it a few times. You'll start to like it. You know, walk it off. But don't write a whole song about it. Jesus. Side 2 starts off with Breathless, which is a great track as well. I think they should have put that at the end of side 1 and just made side 1 just killer all the way through. Great upbeat song, great album track. You know, you don't hear that one a lot, but that's a nice stellar. Got a nice, you know, nice energy to it. You got Run for Cover as well, where he's going to plant his seed, and then he's going to be overnight. He's going to take off. So, you know, I guess he's one of them deadbeat dads in that song. I don't know what he's doing there. Planting seeds and hit and run lover. Run for Cover. Then you got Let's Get Crazy. Another fast, you know, just hard rock blast from these guys. Very fun, especially when he wants to kiss your lips, but not the ones on your face. That's an actual line in the song. And then Thunderbird wraps it up. And that's sort of a ballad, sort of a soaring kind of, you know, swan song-esque kind of ending to the album. It's about somebody that's taken off and gone over across the sea, and he's missing them, and, you know, maybe someday they'll come back. I think it would have worked better as a death tribute. I think the sound of the song and just the feel of the song would have worked better if they would have written it about somebody who's passed away and they've kind of flown off, and, you know, they're missing them and thinking about them, and instead of like just another, oh, my lover's gone type thing. But, you know, overall, great. I mean, awesome. This is a 5-star album. Very, very fun. It totally works. Their later albums kind of keep trying to play on this theme, but they're not, they're kind of out of time. and they kind of turned into like a self-parody somewhat. But Mental Health from Quiet Riot, 5 stars, very fun, absolute blast. Even when they slow it down, they're doing ridiculous lyrics to kind of make you go, what the hell? So cheesy, good fun from the 1980s, and one of the first bands to really capture that spirit and do that in February of 1983. But I'm sure I don't have to tell you how great this is. You probably own this album yourself. Another band that released an album on February the 28th of 1983 was another band that made the scene at the US Festival, and that is U2, and the album was War. This is definitely one of my favorite U2 albums. It kind of goes neck and neck with Achtung Baby, but they're two completely different kinds of albums, so it's kind of hard to compare those two. This one, overtly political, not just singing like kind of broad themes, but very specific instances and situations in war. And I think it's great. I love it when bands actually sing about something real. I'm not one of those people that are like, bands should keep their political opinions to themselves. If you sing about what you want to sing about, and I'll either listen to it and buy it, or I won't. That's your choice, and that's my choice. That's how it works. U2, this is their 3rd album, and starts off really strong with the song Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Again, one of my favorite U2 songs. Now, it is about a specific event concerning Northern Ireland, but I think that songs like this and New Year's Day, which is another specific, topic, they still can be taken as an overall theme of anti-war and what it's all the fighting for type of thing. And, the horrors that war can bring, whether you understand the specifics of the exact thing they're talking about, or whether it's sort of, like I said, like a broad view. It works both ways. But the music is great as well. A live version of this from Red Rocks was really popular later on, and it kind of overtook the studio version, especially being played on video channels because there was a big live video about it. I still love the studio version with the electric violin there sounding completely different than anything I'd ever heard before at that time. The drumming, which is incredible, the way that not only the drumming itself, but the way that it sounds. The production on it, a great way to start off an album, just a blast of energy, and they've got something to say, and they're saying it. Seconds, nuclear war thing, how you can just, some people can just decide that they want to push a button, and everybody has to say goodbye, and it takes a couple of seconds. Frightening stuff in the 1980s. A lot of us were worried about nuclear war. It was a topic that was always going on. Being discussed, how, somebody can push a button. I don't know if nuclear war, maybe it is that easy just to push a button or whatever, but, that was on a lot of minds, the whole Cold War thing and how it can turn cold to white hot in just seconds. So that's what that song's all about. New Year's Day, incredible electric piano on that. Great melody on that, and of course another song that's got something to say about how, it's New Year's Day, everybody's celebrating, how hooray, champagne and corks and noisemakers and, whatever, but nothing really changes on New Year's Day. The album just goes on and on. Like a Song is great, kind of more of a, keeping the energy up with that, talking about it's more than just a song, we're singing about something. They're actually kind of being a little meta there, as the kids would say. Drowning Man's all right. Refugee is interesting to listen to these days because that whole story can be completely turned and flipped around the opposite. So it's kind of interesting to hear some of these songs from the 80s and some of them that held up and can still be, heard as something that's still vital and still relevant. And then others that are like, that's did a whole 180 on that one. So yeah, there's that one. Two Hearts Beat as One was another video, another single from these guys. It's more of just a, really energetic, upbeat love song, but still got that great drumming in there with the constant hi-hat, and just great. And then the album ends with 40, kind of a slowed down version of the earlier songs. So yeah, great album all the way through, basically. Side 1, though, is really, it kind of is the better half, but they're both great. And but yeah, this song kicks off the album kicks off really strong, and definitely one of my favorites from U2. Love the cover here. It looks like, I think this is the same young man that is featured on the Boy album cover. If you get the one from the UK, I never liked the US cover where it's just the kind of distorted faces stripped across of the band members. The original cover of Boy has this guy on it. It looking very young. You know, he's younger, he's innocent. And here it's war. He's got this, you know, mean look in his eyes. He's got like somebody punched him in the lip. And so it really works well for the cover of this. So really like this album. Record is the only way I ever had this. I still remember getting this at Vintage Vinyl in Granite City, because they used to have 2 locations. Granite City is where I grew up. And picked this up, I think it was $4.99. This thing is mint condition. I've kept it in near mint condition all this time. And yeah, you can't get a copy that's this good of this album for $4.99 anymore. So bringing back great memories of times that are definitely past with that kind of thing. But yeah, U2 and War, yeah, I'm definitely going to give this 5 stars, obviously. So yeah, some couple of great albums coming out on February the 28th. Okay, so now it's time to talk about Carl Wilson. Yes, that Carl Wilson. He had his second solo album come out about this time, and I had not heard his first one. I had not heard his second one, or if he has any more, I've never heard those. So I didn't know what to expect with this. But I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised. I am not the biggest fan of latter-day Beach Boys, like their late 60s stuff and their 70s stuff. Not a fan at all. Maybe you've seen some of my other videos. I don't think Brian Wilson is any kind of genius or whatever. So I was not expecting anything from that. I thought this was going to be another ridiculous kind of Beach Boys album or whatever. But this is actually not terrible. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's not awesome, but it's not awful either. It's Carl Wilson, who you never hear about, at least I don't. You know, when you hear about the Beach Boys members, on a tertiary level, you'll hear about the tragedy of Dennis Wilson. But more than that, you know, obviously the big 2, you hear all about Mike Love and all about Brian Wilson. But you know, I don't really hear anything about Carl Wilson. So I don't know what kind of a person he is. I don't know what kind of music he's into as a solo person. And this basically sounds like, well, it's a little past, it's like, because it's 1983, but this sounds more like late 70s stuff, like 77, 78, kind of, you know, just we're getting the band and we're rocking out like the Eagles would like do some more rockin' stuff. You know, it's that kind of feel. It's like what the cool kids would call yacht rock these days, but a little bit cranked up. Starts off pretty strong, actually. Starts off with a song called What More Can I Say? Just blasts right into it, up-tempo, rock-oriented. Followed up by another kind of, you know, slows down the tempo a little bit, but nice mid-tempo rocker called She's Mine. He's got some great people playing with him, first of all. The musicians on here. You've got Skunk Baxter, who is, of course, from the Doobie Brothers. He also worked with Steely Dan. So, you know, the combination of Steely Dan and a Beach Boy, that should just be horrendous. But it's not, because, you know, it's not really, it's the good guys from Steely Dan. It's Jeff Skunk Baxter and Elliot Randall, who was with them very early on. So, great musicians on here. I think Timothy B. Schmidt is a part of this. Nicky Hopkins is on piano. And so you got a lot of great people making the music on this album. And then Carl Wilson has a nice voice. He definitely doesn't have that whiny, high, weird falsetto thing that Brian Wilson is always doing. And there's no songs on here about, you know, eat your vegetables and brush them, brush them, brush them. We're on the school bus, or whatever the fuck the Beach Boys are singing about in the 70s. Just that nonsense. These are actually real songs that could be on anybody's album. These could be on a Seals and Crofts album. These could be, like I said, Eagles, you know, kind of both ends of the spectrum there. But, you know, they're not, again, this is not terrific. This is not great. This is not awesome, but it's not horrible. So I was actually pleasantly surprised by the Carl Wilson album. There's nothing cringe on here. There's no song, well, there is one song. About an underage girl, Youngblood, which is a cover song from the 50s. Bad Company did it too. And not only is it on here, but it's the name of the album, Youngblood. We could have probably done without that. We've got quite enough of the adult-child questionable relationship songs that the Beach Boys were putting out in the 70s. We don't need Carl Wilson to do that. It's got a cover of Fogerty's Rockin' All Over the World. You know, a lot of the vocals on here, when it starts rocking out like that and singing about rocking, I purposely put the G on the end of that, rocking. It sounds like Carl Wilson's pushing it too hard. He's not meant for that. It doesn't sound good. But, you know, a lot of this isn't too bad. There's a couple of really, you know, slow ballads on it that really get into that adult contemporary, late 70s feel. If I Could Talk to Love is one of them, which, not great, but not unlistenable like a Beach Boys album. I'm going to go ahead and give Carl Wilson's Youngblood, I think I'll give it 3 stars just because it surprised me so much. I had no idea what to expect, but yet I was still surprised because it's a Beach Boy putting out a solo album in 1983. Doesn't sound like 1983, sounds a little behind the times, but I got to give Carl Wilson the benefit of every doubt. I got to be nice to the guy. He's been around Brian Wilson his whole life, and that can't be an easy road to take. So, fight the good fight, Carl Wilson. I don't know if he's got any more solo albums. I'm probably not going to hear them unless I do a deep dive into whatever years those came out. But this was actually a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Have you ever heard of the band Laru? Not Laru. Laru is a different thing. This is Laru. They are a group from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. They had been around since 1978, making albums anyway since 1978. I believe this one is their 4th or 5th, called All Fired Up. I was not that familiar with these guys. I think I'd seen one of their earlier albums before, like the cover of it a few times. Didn't really know much about them at all. And so I thought, I'll put this on. I'll see what this is all about. And the very first song is the title track, All Fired Up. It comes screaming on with the guitars and the 80s synths going on. It's really energetic. And the very first line is, Saturday night I was out all over town trying to track your young ass down. And I'm like, okay, all right, well, what's this going to be about? And it's just this total, pre-hairband kind of fun thing going on with all the, not a lot of double entendres, but it does have one particular line in there that caught my ear. And that's, something about, you're just the best, your head's above the rest. Okay, so your head's above the rest, is that Y-O-U apostrophe R-E or Y-O-U-R? Does heads have an apostrophe in it? What exactly are we saying here? Your head's above the rest. Anyway, I thought it was pretty good. I'm like, all right, well, I'm ready to listen to the rest of this thing. This is a great way to start an album here. 1983, little pre-hair rock action going on, rocking out with a band from Baton Rouge, the Red Stick. And then the second song comes on. I think it's called Lifeline. And tempo slows. We settle in a little bit here. And I'm like, okay, well, this is the second track. We're easing up a little bit. And the third track comes on, and it's a ballad. And the fourth track, and the fifth track, and the sixth track. And I'm realizing, wait a minute, this whole first song was some sort of fluke. This is like an adult contemporary group, basically. And not even one that sounds real synthy and airy. It's more like something that would be from the really early 80s, like 79, 80, 81. It's that kind of thing. The vocals are high up. They're not great, though. It's that kind of high vocals like this and the pleading thing going on. And it's not great. There's people that can pull that off. There's people that can't pull it off so well. This would be under the can't pull it off so well category. Turning Point. We're about halfway through the album. There's a song called Turning Point. Turning Point! This love affair is through. It's a turning point. So the energy's back up, but we're just being cheesy now. It's just a cheesy type of thing. Carrie's Gone is another one that's super cheesy, and you think it's got about this girl named Carrie that he's missing. And no, it's Carrie's gone because she's with me, so you're missing her. So that's a little bit of a different spin, but not enough to make it any interesting kind of thing. It's just a little morsel of, okay, they switched it around. That's, that's kind of could be maybe a shadow of cleverness, I guess. But overall, this album tricked me because I thought this was going to be something cool and something like unhidden, like cock rock gem, and it's not. It's got the one song at the beginning and the rest of it, no. And so 2 stars is about as good as I can do for Laru. All Fired Up. Don't want to hear probably anything else from them because I don't like being tricked like that. And shame on you for doing that. And I mean, that's really all there is to say. Maybe check out the first song if you want to hear what I'm talking about, but there's no reason to really listen too much further to this album. So a few albums released on the 28th of February, including The Key from Joan Armatrading. Now, there's a name that I've kind of heard here and there, but I've never really heard her music. I don't really know that much about her. And so I actually had to watch a video interview with her just to know how to correctly pronounce her name, Joan Armatrading. But yeah, then The Key is her album from 1983, and she's got a good voice, good deep voice, female voice, and so yeah, I think it's great, very warm, very powerful, and I think it would be greatly suited for like some gutsy blues rock type of thing, and that is just not happening in here at all. The album starts off with a song called I Love It When You Call Me Names, which is just bizarre. The song begins, you think she's a woman talking about how she loves this guy when he calls her name and he beats her up and he beats her up again, he's going to beat her up again. And I'm just listening to this going, what? I mean, I know 83 was a different time, but this sounds like some straight up Bessie Smith stuff from like the 20s. I would rather my man hit me than to up and quit me. Ain't nobody's business. Anyway, and then she turns the song around, and it's actually turns out to be talking about a short man who's got a big woman, and the woman is the one calling the short man all these names and beating him up all the time. So I guess that makes it funny. Just a bad idea all around. The Key is the title track. It's one of the worst songs on here. It's her being like, I want the key to your heart. I want the key to your heart. Doing this like bouncy poppy number. Her voice is so criminally misused on this album. I don't know about her other albums. Maybe she finally finds the way to use that voice of hers to like a positive effect. But I want the key to your heart is not, in my opinion, is not the way Joan Armatrading should be singing. She's got another track on here called Drop the Pilot, which I think was a hit in the UK. She's more popular in the UK than she is the US for sure. I don't think really she's that popular at all in the US. But this was apparently one of her biggest hits. Doesn't do much for me. I'm not sure what Drop the Pilot even means. But she's got other songs on here like Telltale, where she's going to out this guy to his friends. I saw you kissing the boys, and I'm going to tell all your friends. I got something I can tell your friends. I know you're obsessed with boys. Isn't she a lesbian? I think I got that from the interview I watched. And she's going around outing people. She kind of sounds a little bit like Cher. In a few songs, a couple of songs anyway, the voice, it's that kind of voice. A song especially on here called Everybody Gotta Know. I mean, some people would listen to that and probably think it was Cher. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple of interesting songs on here. They happen more towards the end of the album, like The Dealer it has an interesting sound to it. It's just a little bit slower, a little bit more kind of eerie sounding, and she's the dealer, and she's got kind of an ominous kind of vocal going on that, using your voice, well. I Love My Baby's a slow ballad at the end. Again, it's not incredible, but it's better than everything else on this album almost. So yeah, I can't really recommend this. Maybe I'll check out some more Joan Armatrading later on. Maybe she's got better albums than this, but I think from what I understand, this is one of her more popular ones. So I can't give this any more than 2 stars. It seems like a missed opportunity to me, used vocals. Again, great voice, but it shouldn't be singing these silly pop songs like I Want the Key to Your Heart. And What Do Boys Dream and things like that. It's just, I don't know. I can't do more than that. But at least now I've heard Joan Armatrading and what she sounds like. All right, wrapping up the month of February 1983 with some underground metal. This is the debut album from the band Wild Dogs from Portland. These guys, they've been around for a while. They've changed up the lineup a bit. They're still putting out albums as late as 2016, but this is their debut. And man, this thing rocks. This is great stuff here. As far as the kind of underground basement lo-fi hard rock, this is exactly where it's at. Starts off in more of a thrash mode with the very first track called Life is a Game. And, you know, life is a game and you're a loser. That's a great way to start an album with that sentiment. You got vocalist Matt T. McCourt. And he doesn't sound like he's like overdoing it at all. He doesn't have this big, loud, squealing voice like you'd hear so much in later, you know, the later kind of glam rock kind of stuff of the 80s. It's pretty much right, even keel, bellowed out. You know, he's rocking out, but he's not like overdoing it at all. So it's a great vocal. Great musical chops on here from the guitarists and the drummer. They've got the chops. They've been going at it, I think, for about 4 or 5 years at this point. It's just a, you know, band playing concerts and whatever. So this is their first album. And Tonight Show is the next song, all about being a rock star, wanting to be a rock star. You know, you see me up on the stage, you can do it too, type of thing. So that's a nice sentiment. And then we get Evil in Me. We got whips and chains and baseball bats. I like the pain, as a matter of fact. So, you know, I've heard of whips and chains, but man, these guys are full on bringing the baseball bats into the action. So that's pretty extreme. You know, just making me evil. So, you know, they don't dwell too much on the evil thing. It's just little flourishes here and there. So it's not like a satanic rock band or something like that. But these guys really do well with that whole, like I said, lo-fi underground metal thing. That's one of the things I love about these deep dives. I'd forgotten about this band, only heard a few tracks from them before years and years ago, so finally glad to check out the entire album. And it's the same thing with me with the late 60s psychedelic stuff that remained under the radar. I love discovering that stuff, unearthing it, and just really getting into it, kind of the lost music. And the same thing with the early 80s metal stuff. It's the same thing for me. I just love this kind of stuff that flew under the radar, never got big. I don't know why they never blew up or whatever. They probably got their stories of why that happened. I'm sure, you know, like I said before, you know, people too busy promoting Mr. Roboto, shit like that. But yeah, I'm glad to finally check this whole thing out. And if I ever see this anywhere, I'm definitely picking this up. It only goes for about $25 or so. You know, for a rare kind of metal thing, you know, like I said, lo-fi basement kind of metal thing. That's a nice price for that. So they do have a little bit of cheese going on with the cover art, you know, with the rock star metal posing and whatever. But you got to overlook that. And from what I've seen from their later releases, it just gets worse and worse with that. So I don't know where exactly their music goes. But as far as this debut album, this is pretty solid stuff all the way through. Like I said, nice skills with the musicians on here. You got the guitarist doing like the Eddie Van Halen eruption thing at the beginning of the song Prisoner. So definitely check that out. It goes into this hard tape edit and flies right into the song. This whole album kind of gives like a early like Iron Maiden kind of vibe to it, like the first two albums. So if you like that, you definitely want to check out Wild Dogs. Like I said, this thing is pretty solid all the way through. Pretty fun stuff. Little bit of cheese here and there, like on the song Born to Rock. You know, they got their song with rock in the title. So a little bit of cheese here and there, but definitely not overdone. Pretty solid, pretty raw stuff. And like I said, kind of a lo-fi basement kind of feel. I love that kind of thing, unearthing that stuff. So was really glad to check this out. Wild Dogs and their debut on Shrapnel Records. Like I said, if I ever see this, I'm definitely going to pick this up. I kind of hesitate to give it the full-on 5-star rating because I'm not really sure where these guys are coming from later on. And it does have a little bit of cheese, especially, like I said, with the rock star posing on the cover and a few of the lyrics here and there. But it's definitely a solid 4-star album for me. Probably more like 4.5 stars. So yeah, definitely check this out. Wild Dogs and their debut. And that is going to wrap up the month of February 1983. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive, and hopefully you will continue as well when we go to March 1983 and the beginning of that next with the next video where I'll be talking about albums from Thin Lizzy and Bananarama and Orchestral Maneuvers in the Dark, Tears for Fears, Kicks, coming up to that one, as well as the Spandau Ballet and some others. So hopefully you'll join me for that. Please do. Once again, I'm Robert Fitton, and hopefully I will talk to you again soon.